My beloved, precious child, I have called you by name. You are not forgotten. You are chosen for such a time as this. You've been praying, fasting, begging, even pouring out your heart late at night, tears soaking your pillow. You've asked God to speak, to move, to just show you something, anything, but all you're met with is silence. Nothing, not even a whisper. It feels like heaven went on do not disturb mode. It's frustrating, confusing, at times devastating. You wonder if you did something wrong, if he's disappointed in you, or worse, if he's just not there. But pause for a moment and consider this. What if God's silence isn't rejection? What if it's preparation? Every believer, no matter how devoted, will face this moment, a season where prayers seem unanswered, a season where worship feels dry, a season where you begin to question if what you believed was real. But here's the uncomfortable truth. These seasons are not setbacks. They are sacred. And in them, God is doing more than you can possibly imagine. Today, I want to walk you through what to do when God feels silent. Because this moment, this very silence, may hold the key to your next level spiritually, emotionally, and even financially. If you're between the ages of 18 and 50, and you're serious about living a God-centered, wise, and abundant life, this message is for you. Stay with me until the end. I'll show you something that connects this silence to the principle of compounding, something that will change how you view not only your faith, but also how you make decisions with your time, your money, and your future. But let's start with the first truth. 1. Don't panic. God's silence isn't his absence. Here's where most of us begin spiraling. We assume that if we can't hear God, he must not be near. We panic. Our thoughts go into overdrive. Maybe I've sinned too much. Maybe I'm not spiritual enough. Maybe I've missed my calling. Maybe God's abandoned me. It's easy to feel that way, especially when you look around and it seems like everyone else is getting their breakthrough, their promotion, their blessing. You're left wondering, what about me? But let's get this straight. God's silence is not a sign that he's left you. In fact, it's often proof that he's closer than ever. Think about Joseph. He was thrown in a pit by his brothers, falsely accused, locked up in a foreign prison. For years, God said nothing. No visions, no dreams, just waiting. But behind the scenes, God was aligning the palace. He was setting up Pharaoh. He was preparing Egypt. Sometimes God is silent because he's setting the stage. And if he told you everything all at once, you'd either run ahead or run away. You see, panic leads to poor decisions. When we panic, we grasp, we settle, we jump ahead of God's timing. We trade purpose for comfort. Don't fall for that trap. Instead, hold the line. Anchor your faith not in what you feel, but in what you know, that he is good, that he is near, that he is working. And I get it. That's easier said than done. But panic never leads to clarity. Peace does. When you can stand still in the silence, that's when you're positioned for the supernatural. 2. Be still. God speaks most clearly in stillness. Have you ever tried to hear someone whisper in a crowded room? You lean in. You stop talking. You turn your ear toward them. You remove distractions. You become still. That's what God's silence often invites us into. Not confusion, but stillness. Elijah found this out the hard way. After performing one of the most dramatic miracles in Scripture, calling down fire from heaven, he flees in fear and hides in a cave. And when he desperately needs to hear from God, what happens? There's a great wind, but God's not in the wind. There's an earthquake, but God's not in the earthquake. There's a fire, but God's not in the fire. And then there's a whisper, and that's where God was. Here's the problem. We live in a culture of noise. Notifications, alerts, 24/7 news cycles, social media reels, opinions, ads. We're drowning in digital chaos. No wonder we struggle to hear God. We've trained our attention span to crave stimulation, not stillness. So, let me challenge you. When God feels silent, maybe it's not that He's stopped speaking. Maybe He's just speaking in a frequency you've tuned out. Start scheduling silence. 10 minutes in the morning. No music. No phone, no to-do list. Just sit in His presence. Let your thoughts slow down. Let your heart be still. You might be surprised what surfaces in the silence, not just God's voice, but clarity, healing, direction. Because silence isn't empty. It's full of answers we've been too loud to hear. 3. Revisit the last thing God told you. Sometimes we're asking for new instructions while ignoring the last ones. God isn't our Siri. He doesn't update His directions every 5 seconds because we keep going off course. He's not interested in giving us Plan B when we never followed Plan A. Maybe the reason you're not hearing from Him now is because you didn't act on what He told you last time. God told you to forgive, but you're still bitter. God told you to launch the ministry, but you're still waiting for perfect conditions. God told you to start tithing, but you're still trying to make it make sense. Delayed obedience is still disobedience, and disobedience always clouds clarity. Faith is a walk. It requires motion. Abraham didn't get the full map. He got one command, go, and as he moved, God unveiled more. So go back. Ask yourself, what's the last clear instruction God gave me? And have I done it? If not, that's your next step. Don't wait for fresh revelation when you've ignored foundational instruction. Obedience is the bridge between God's silence and His next move in your life. 4. Trust that silence is strategic. Here's what most people miss. Silence often comes before the biggest shifts. Think about it. There were 400 years of prophetic silence between the Old and New Testaments. And then Jesus arrived. There was silence in the tomb for 3 days. And then resurrection. In your silence, God may be planting something that hasn't broken through the soil yet. You can't rush a seed. You can water it, nurture it, believe in it, but you cannot force its timing. And if you dig it up too early to check on it, you kill what God is growing. Your job isn't to make the miracle happen. Your job is to stay faithful during the silent incubation. This is where character is developed, where trust is deepened, where your faith matures from emotional hype to spiritual discipline. You don't need goosebumps to stay faithful. You need conviction that even if nothing changes this week, or next month, or this year, that you will remain faithful, because God has never failed you before, and He won't start now. 5. Silence is the testing ground of maturity. Let's be honest. Most people follow God when they feel Him, when the blessings are flowing, when the doors are opening, when the worship is high and the emotions are strong. But what about when you feel nothing? What about when it's dry? What about when everyone else is getting married, promoted, healed, and you're still waiting? Spiritual immaturity says, if I don't feel it, I won't follow. Spiritual maturity says, even in the silence, I will stay. Your consistency in the silence reveals more about your character than your passion in the spotlight. Anyone can shout when the crowd is cheering. But can you be faithful in the shadows? Can you worship in the wilderness? Can you still give when it doesn't feel like you're receiving? This is where God separates fans from followers, consumers from carriers, people who want blessings from people who want purpose. God isn't testing your value. He's testing your readiness. The silence is not to punish you. It's to prepare you for a level that emotional faith can't sustain. 6. Find community that holds you up while you wait. Don't isolate. Silence can become dangerous when it leads to isolation. The enemy loves quiet rooms, not because God isn't there, but because you start entertaining lies when no one is there to correct you. Find faith-filled community. Surround yourself with people who remind you of who God is, especially when you're forgetting. You don't need people to fix your silence. You need people to sit with you in it. Even Jesus in Gethsemane brought His disciples with Him to pray. He didn't walk into the silence of His suffering alone. Neither should you. Join a small group. Call a mentor. Send a message to someone who will speak life over you. The silence may be God's strategy, but community is often His support system. 7. The reward is coming, but you must endure. Let's talk about the other side. Because there is another side. The silence doesn't last forever. There will be a moment, a shift, when everything begins to make sense. When the doors open. When the clarity comes. When what God was doing behind the scenes is suddenly revealed in the open. And in that moment, you'll realize it was never silence. It was strategy. It was sovereignty. It was sacred. Your waiting will become your wisdom. Your pain will become your platform. Your story will become someone else's survival guide. But only if you don't give up. Don't quit in the quiet. Don't walk away because the volume went down. Don't confuse God's delay with His denial. He's not done with you. And now, your next step, if this message stirred something in you, If you're sensing that maybe God's silence is more meaningful than you thought, then you're ready for the next layer. Because here's the thing, what you do consistently in this season, even in silence, will multiply over time. That's why I want you to watch the next video on the power of compounding, where I show you how one God-aligned action, done consistently, can create explosive impact in your faith, your purpose, and even your finances. This isn't about hype. It's about wisdom. Click that video now. It's waiting for you. Your breakthrough may already be in motion. You just have to stay in the process. Keep walking. Keep listening. Keep trusting. Because even in the silence, God is still speaking.